So now the top two spots in the House of Representatives are both held by congressmen from Louisiana, Speaker Mike Johnson, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who we just heard from, but that might not last very long. Here with me now is political analyst Ron Faucheaux. Ron, we know that this is a rather unusual situation, as you mentioned to us a little bit earlier, that usually we have a House Speaker and a Speaker Majority that are from two different areas. Now we have two people from Louisiana. Is there a possibility, or could there be a conversation that could change?
I would say probably not. I think that a lot of Republican members of the House like Steve Scalise. I don't think they want to remove him from his current position as majority leader. So I suspect that won't go anywhere.
Well, so talk about this. We know that we have a McCarthy that was ousted, and I asked our political analyst Clancy this earlier. Steve Scalise couldn't get the votes. Of course, you have Jim Jordan that couldn't get the votes. Emmer couldn't get the votes, but Johnson did. What really sets him apart from everyone else?
Well, number one, the other people who had some negatives among House members were eliminated over the last couple of weeks. So that opened up the field for a new candidate. But I think what really elected Johnson was that he's a new face.
Right.
I think the Republicans wanted a new face in the leadership, somebody who wasn't, one of the old faces of the old leadership, even though he has been in the Republican leadership for some time as head of the Republican Conference and the Republican Study Group.
As we just heard from Troy Carter, everyone gets back to business now. So now as they get back to business, what do you think the number one business item needs to be?
Well, they clearly have some things they have to deal with, like the funding of the government that in a couple of weeks that runs out, so they're going to have to act on that one way or another. You've got the foreign policy situation in Ukraine and in Israel, for example, that requires some immediate action. So they have a lot to do.
So, some people are concerned about, we've heard from several Republicans who support Johnson as House Speaker, but there are other people who are concerned with his voting records, one that he is not very shy about. He has, of course, we've talked about it on the show recently about how he voted to, and correct me if I'm wrong, how he voted to not certify the 2020 presidential election. Some people believe that voting along for Johnson, he runs along and is very supportive of former President Donald Trump. And so they're concerned with that vote. What do you think about that?
Well, Mike Johnson is a true believer conservative. I think everybody knows that. What you see is what you get. He's never shied away from being that. He's never shied away from being a Trump supporter, and whether you agree with those positions or not, that's who he is, that's what he is, and that represents a majority of the Republicans in the U.S. House. So it's not like he's an oddball in there. He's very much in league with most of the other U.S. House members who are Republicans.
And so, of course, we talked about the fact that the House Republicans and House Democrats, for that matter, have several caucuses. Do we feel like people can come together and find some sort of unity under Johnson?
Well, unity is always hard, but when you only have a 3 or 4 vote majority, it's necessary for a political party. And I think after what's happened in recent weeks, I think there's going to be a strong incentive for the Republicans in the House to unify and to work together to make sure that any disagreements they have will be worked out in back rooms.
All right, Ron Faucheaux, of course, lovely having you on set with us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to talk about in the coming days.